it's really hard to beat a team in a closeout game or a must-win for that team on their home court. It just is. And, obviously really caught fire there. And she became a problem. So we just have to stay locked in. And also being in foul trouble, I thought hurt us a lot. You're not going to cheat off Dana. You're just not. And I thought they crowded and really mucked some things up for us offensively. And we'll do a few different things. We got a few different things tossing around in my head that we might do. So we'll see.
Coach, on the right side toward the back of the room.
Hey, Becky. You've mentioned before just how special it is to be able to close out series on the road. Just why is that?
I mean, it's just like you walk in and the whole world's against you, which I personally enjoy. You got to really embrace those moments, those opportunities. I love fans. I love fans of the WNBA, even if they're not cheering for us. I think it's awesome to have a packed building, have that kind of energy. But, like I said, there's energy shifts in the building, and you see it throughout the course of the game. But in huge moments, it seems to be even more magnified. But winning on the road in any professional league is very difficult, especially if you start adding on circumstances, right, and scenarios. It's just really tough.
Becky on the right side of the room in the fourth row.
Hi, Coach. Going back to that Game 3, it felt like the Mercury found some success going after some of the guards, more so with off-ball actions compared to like the pick and rolls in Game 1. Are you worried about that aspect of Phoenix's attack? Is it just doing better against those, or are there any adjustments you feel need to be made on that front?
We can do better. We can do better. If we don't do better, we'll make some adjustments. But, I didn't think we were solid in some areas defensively, and hopefully we'll be solid tonight. They slipped through. We got to identify some actions quicker, and I think when we do identify them, we'll be able to execute the plan better. They disguised a few things. They got into a few sets a little differently. They initiated it differently. So really it was the same action, but it was just disguised a little bit. And we got to sniff those out a little bit better at the beginning of the possession.
Coach, in the last row to your left.
Hi, Becky. Players have talked about the range of stories and examples you use to motivate them. Chelsea compared your range there to what she's heard about Phil Jackson. Curious if you keep a notebook of potential ideas there, if you are always looking for things that you can use for stories, or how you keep coming up with different ones.
No, my dad was a storyteller, and he used to tell us this trip on the way to Connecticut when we'd be driving out there to see family. It would last 3 hours, and he put me and my sister and my brother's names in it. And it wasn't until I got into junior high that I realized he had just plagiarized The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. So, he just put our names in it until I had to read that book for an assignment. But we were just out doing a lot in nature and stuff, so I think you can learn a lot from nature, whether that's just from animals or seasons or vegetation, just different things. There's so much out there in the world that has nothing to do with basketball but could easily be translatable. But I am constantly looking for things that I think they would identify with, or things that resonate. Reading and just storytelling, listening to podcasts, stuff like that. I think the one thing about being a professional athlete, and especially take the NBA that has 82 games, man, it's really hard to play hard, get your team to play hard, all 82 games. But you see the ones that do end up doing pretty well. I think Indiana played real hard the whole season. Oklahoma City, they play really hard on both ends of the floor all year, and I think that's a great habit and skill set to have. But, when you've had a lot of success, a lot of times, sometimes it's hard to keep that energy. And I think this group has really found that energy post All-Star. Even before, I was text from somebody, and I said, man, we could have reeled off 3 in a row right there, but instead it was like three losses in a row. But we were right there. And my last comment to him was, we'll get it turned around. And then he texted me yesterday, and that was our last conversation with each other. So that was the last thing he said. I guess we turned it around, But I got a locker room of really high character quality people that care about the right things. So that helps.
This will be our last question. Coach, toward the back of the room on the left.
Hi, Becky. Building off of that question, I guess I'm just curious where your different team building activities come from. So the egg drill, the Jeopardy, giving the plants, there have been a lot of things we've discussed. So where does that creativity and I guess, thing that teachers do, where does that come from?
I would say my dad. Everything was a game in my household. That's why we're probably all overly competitive. But he made learning fun. There was always a lesson in what he was doing. He was a person that, he's still alive. I just use past tense. Thank God. It was constantly learning. He's a true teacher. He's a true leader. He was my first coach. Coached my brother, coached me. He's very much entrepreneur. Started his own business. So, I don't know, just the can-do attitude, but then would also show you the how-to through examples in life or through books. He's a heavy reader. So I just think, and he was fun. So, our house was the house. Kids wanted to come, and we would play games. Man, we would play all sorts of games all night. He was a youth group leader. So, he'd be coming up with games, canoe wars, pine cone fights, capture the flag. You name the games, we did all the games. So I just think when you have a group of collective competitive people, they like games. So it ain't fun till we're keeping score. But yeah, he's the original fun guy for sure.
Coach, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.